There's some real doubt about that. I don't think we're in a position to say. It was surprising that the assertion was he won by, what, 60-some% of the vote. And so I think we have to wait and see.
Take, go.
Iranian-American protests are sprouting up in several U.S. cities. In Washington, D.C., demonstrators turned out calling for a recount of Iran's election. Many Iranian-Americans are rejecting the Iran official vote tally. And in fact, among those in the crowd, we're joined now by Shahriar Etminani. He was there, I'm sorry, as well. Give me an idea how important you believe as an Iranian-American it is to take part in this protest in the nation's capital when the sentiment of this outcome of this election is a half world away.
Well, I think personally I was there to show support for the kids of Iran that are brutally being beaten up as we speak by this regime. So I felt as a show support to be there and do the little I can do from this part of the world.
Do you feel like among colleagues, among fellow Iranian Americans, that the consensus is the same, that this has not been a legitimate outcome of this election?
I mean, obviously I can't speak for the entire Iranian American community, but I think if there was a poll taken, a vast majority would agree that this election was a farce, just like every other election that they've had. The so-called democracy that they have, demonstrated, it really is not a democracy. The candidates are not open; they're chosen based on their beliefs and their background. So you cannot have anyone that believes in true democracy, that believes in secular federal government or any other form of government
well, I wonder
taking part.
If your feeling was a bit different maybe 4, maybe even 5 days ago when, as I spoke with one young lady who we'll all be hearing from a little bit later on in this newscast. She was in Tehran. She's been out on the street, and her sentiment is about 4 days ago there was this feeling that this velvet revolution, so to speak, really could be taking place, that things were about to change, that people were in the streets, they were very hopeful, they were happy, but then when the outcome of this election was revealed publicly, that then changed the tide into protest. So were you feeling initially hopeful leading up to the results?
Well, we're certainly a lot more hopeful than I have been for the most part of the last 30 years. There's no doubt about it. I think the show of force, the people out in the street, the demonstrations, the partying, the vocal marches that they've had was an absolute anti-Ahmadinejad force. And Mousavi just happened to be there to take the reins, which is fine. I mean, he's obviously, we do need someone to stand up to Ahmadinejad, but we mustn't forget that Mousavi is still part of the establishment.
Well, that's my next question, actually, about what his role now might be, given what took place. He is asking that this vote be nullified. If that were to happen, and if it were not to happen, he is still president in that country. Do you worry about his safety, his livelihood, or even the momentum that he and his opposition supporters were able to bring? A lot of questions there, but perhaps you can address them.
I'm just going to make up my own answer then. The important thing is to understand that this is for the first time in 30 years, we are seeing cracks in the regime, where we're seeing infighting, where the right arm of the regime is fighting with the left arm of the regime, where the more reform-minded are fighting overtly with the more radical part of the regime.
And what do you think the future of this struggle is, of this power struggle?
Well, we've been hopeful for 30 years, and every time we are hopeful, our hopes have been dashed. So, unfortunately, we kind of need to, show our support for the people of Iran, anything we can do.
Do you think, even with the defeat of Mousavi, if that indeed ends up being the conclusion, that the momentum that he and his supporters helped galvanize, is that finished? Or do you believe it can be picked up and perhaps that momentum can be taken elsewhere?
Well, the cynical part of me says, that these guys have 30 years of experience of survival, and they will do whatever it takes to survive. So this will be another blip on the radar that they managed to suppress the people. The hopeful part of me says that, there needs to be a catalyst. And we don't know where that catalyst come from. We don't know where the tipping point will come from.
You protested today in Washington. Do you expect that you and others will be gathering again, whether it be in the nation's capital or anywhere else domestically?
I'm sure we will. I mean, I think the people of Iran demonstrated 30 years ago what the people power can do.
All right. Shahriar Etminani, thanks so much for your time. Appreciate it. And thanks for sharing your viewpoint today.
Thank you very much.
All right, another major story developing in the Middle East. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu today called for the creation of a limited Palestinian state. For the first time, he said this, but he's insisting that it be completely demilitarized, and he's demanding the Palestinians recognize Israel as the Jewish state.
In Israel, this is where the Jewish people came into being. This is